just have no need for item 3 this morning, so we'll handle that at a later date. Public comment. Okay, hearing none. Our first item, Justice Building Update with David Mendez, please.
Good morning, David Mendez with Turner and Townsend Heery. Hesitate passing this out because it's a lot of detail that you probably don't need. I'm looking for direction on whether we modify floor plan at this point in the project or not, based on we've done a floor by floor. As a floor gets to the framing is complete, and just prior to putting up drywall, we walk the site with the design team and your staff, and we make sure that outlets are in the right location, the doors are correct, that type of thing. We've had changes that I've brought to you and you've approved on a floor-by-floor basis. We started at third floor. We had a couple of modifications there. Second floor, we had modifications there. We're down to the first floor. We had our walkthrough last week. There's been some changes in how staff is going to occupy the first floor, and they want to make some adjustments. So what you're looking at is the first floor. That's the northwest or the west side of the building. There's an office 154A. Currently, the design is that's an open space. It was for future office space.
I'm sorry, David, is it 145A?
I'm sorry, 145A.
Okay.
Should be in the center of your page.
Yes.
That's in the clerk's area. If you look to the left, page left of that, there's a lot of dashed lines against that window. Those are cubicles. The intent was to have potential for cubicles in that 145A location. That is an open area. It has power and data. So they want to turn that into an office. If you look at top of page, office 147 and 148, those are now going to be clerks are going to have those offices rather than courts. And they're shifting. If you look, there's a 148 door. That door is currently opening into the main hallway, so that's in a non-secure area. They want to move that door to the bottom of that room and make that open into the secure area. There's a door 133B just to the right of that, and down is where the secure area is in that area. So my question to you is, these changes, creating that office, moving doors, and moving there's one more door. There's 2 doors that are being moved. That's about a $40,000 change. And do we want to make changes like this?
Dave,
yes.
May I ask who asked you to do that? When you say clerk, is it under the district clerk or is
yes.
Can I ask who asked for those changes?
It was a group discussion. It was the design team and the clerks that were walking that. That's Callie.
Okay, Callie and Occasion.
They have all legitimate reasons. I don't know. It's really up to commissioners. You know, you've gone through a design process. We've designed this building. Do we want to make changes at this point? They're as cheap as they're going to get is right now. The walls aren't up. So if we do it later, if they do it as a modification after the project is completed, if they deem it necessary, that would be something that would come out of their budgets, I suppose. But it would be probably double the cost.
Can I just want to make sure I'm clear here. Mm-hmm. Office 145A, they're keeping that.
Currently, that's an open space. It doesn't have any walls. So we're
Oh,
adding.
because the drawing has walls and
So
a door.
this is the updated drawing.
This is the
then.
updated drawing. The design team, after that meeting, quickly drew up something that the contractor could price. I don't have
Okay.
pricing on it yet.
Got it. So 148, you're shifting the door, and you're creating 145A.
Correct.
Those are the two changes.
Yes, in essence. There's one more door. The 142A is being moved. And that's not installed. However, the door in 148 is installed, and that's a little more expensive to move that door.
So those three changes essentially cost $40,000?
I'm guessing, yes. That's, we talked about it. I said, well, is it a $30,000 item or is it a $50,000? They said, well, somewhere in between that. So that's why I said 40.
Yeah. It's because they have to put more electrical in and,
No,
No?
we had accommodated the potential for offices. The electrical is basically staying where it's at. It might move slightly, but it hasn't been installed yet, so it's not an added cost
okay.
for services.
Just out of curiosity, where is the expense mostly? Because it hasn't been built yet.
You've got a new, if you look at 45A, there's a new door, there's new glass to that office, and then that new wall goes from where you see the dark red dashed line all the way to the left and then down page to match up to the office 145. So that's where the added cost would be. Those are about $16 a square foot is kind of how I roughly figured that.
Well, I think moving the door into a secure area is probably a no-brainer in this particular situation because they want to have the people segmented.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that. I don't know, I mean, I don't have anybody here, so I just was curious as why the additional office.
I don't mind going back and discussing it with them.
Okay,
I wasn't at that meeting, but I will discuss it with them.
okay,
We could take it under advisement and
okay.
decide that way, but
When do you need a decision by?
a couple weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. So we can revisit this. We can have that discussion and talk about it and then come back to you.
Okay, that'd be great.
The second thing I have for you today is, this has not been reviewed by the design team. It came in yesterday afternoon, so we've not reviewed the numbers, but we've been talking about the added fireproofing in the building. We gave you an estimate, somewhere between 100 and 200,000, I think is where we're at. I've got the numbers now to all of the items. They added 2 more items to it. And the final number, and again, I want to emphasize this is unreviewed. It will come to you for approval, but right now we're at 159,842, so kind of in between those two numbers. So I talked to the architect this morning. They feel they need, this is pretty extensive pricing. They'll need till middle of next week before they can give us their review on it. And so I won't bring it to you for approval for 2 weeks.
Okay.
So, but that's just an update as to where we're at with that. We're on schedule. We're moving forward with FF&E. We have a meeting set up for Thursday on that, and it'll start getting updates. I expect to have an order middle of January set up, so something for you to look at. So Thursday is going to be kind of the setting of the tone of what that process is going to be.
Okay.
Are there any questions or any advice going into that you might want to give me? Okay.
Just give us the deadline so that we can get as much information as possible.
Sure.
Yeah, Bill, any questions? All right, I think that's enough for today.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, item 2, reallocation ARPA funds from admin to justice building projects. Ms. Falcon, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brandy Falcon for the record. I just need board direction today on this item. So as you remember, the board previously allocated a certain amount of ARPA funds to go toward administrative costs, and that's primarily funding salaries for certain staff. As of October 1st, for FY25, no staff salaries are being funded from ARPA dollars any longer. So there is no longer any administrative costs to spend ARPA funds on. This December 31st, 2024 is the deadline to allocate all of our ARPA dollars. So I'm looking for board direction. I think we should reallocate those remaining dollars from administrative costs to the Justice Building, just so that they get spent. And then I know that we still have those other 2 projects, Children's Village and Wellspring. I know there's been some discussion of potentially funding them with fund balance instead of ARPA dollars. So just looking for some board direction today on what you'd like to do on those items, and I can get on a business meeting in the next couple of weeks based on your direction today.
Yep, thoughts?
I think we should move everything we can outside of these other little side components of ARPA, get it into the Justice Center, and we can use fund balance in exchange. It'll just cut down on the compliance side.
I think just today, we're just talking about the admin, where we used to have 2 salaries by there, but now we.
I just wanted, admin would be also the audit cost. So we want to make sure, unless we want to use fund balance for that, but that's something to bring up.
Sure, we can use a portion of the admin costs to pay for the single audit. It's
Okay.
about $10,000.
How much are we talking?
$480,000 of remain for admin costs, so we could reallocate that to the Justice Building.
Minus the single audit.
Sure.
And would we do 2 years of single audit or 3?
Just one more.
So,
Probably 2, right?
2.
2 for this year and next, I would think, but what do you mean? Because it'll be.
I would have to look at what the board already budgeted for the FY24 audit, because I don't want to do any supplanting. So 1, potentially 2 years.
Okay. All right, Bill?
I'm not in favor of it.
So you want to keep it in for admin salaries?
I don't know. Number one, I shouldn't have to ask how much. I mean, just talk about ARPA dollars. You know, how much?
So
And that makes a difference. And then for what were they used and for what are they going to be used?
So there's $480,000 left that would have been spent on staff salaries, but as of FY25, no more salaries are coming from ARPA. There was a reorganization, RMO went away, and so a lot of the staff that were funded from ARPA, their funding source, either they're gone or their funding source has changed. And so now there's no longer any salaries coming from ARPA, so that money is just going to go to waste unless it gets reallocated to the Justice Building at this point. So if we did that, it would reduce the amount of county fund balance that gets paid towards that project, and instead we would use the ARPA dollars. Does that make sense?
I understand it.
Okay.
I don't know that it makes sense.
Okay.
I think we should just allocate all of these funds to the Justice Center project. You know, because like Brandy said, we don't want to be in a situation where we're supplanting or further committing these dollars into the future. Let's just have all the compliance related to the building, and anything else would come out of fund balance anyhow. It's just 1 1/2 dozen the other, except for the compliance side. So we have to do the compliance for the building. Let's keep as much money into that as we need, and the rest of it can be discretionary for the board.
All right, so Commissioner Matari, you want to definitely reallocate the admin portion, and then I had mentioned Children's Village and Wellspring as well. Does the board want to give direction on those projects today, or do you want me to bring that back as a different item?
I think it needs to be a different item because I'd like an update first on just seeing where we're at with them. I was kind of hoping we'd have an update by now because it's
An
mid-November.
update from who?
Probably from Kat and Pat.
Okay, yeah, I asked them to be here today, but Caitlin called in sick, so
Okay.
she was unable to make it.
Okay.
All right, I'll get on the next business meeting to reallocate the admin portion to the Justice Building.
Right. And then can we minus the audit
Sure,
fees?
we'll minus the cost for the ARPA single audit.
Yeah, perfect. Okay.
Is that assuming that that we haven't already allocated money for it?
Yep, I'll check and make sure that we won't be supplanting.
So if we
Correct.
have allocated, then we would just put it all towards the building.
Right, but we haven't allocated future years.
That requires still compliance reporting, so
Yeah,
we
but-
can discuss that too.
As far as allocating future years? Because I guess, does it really matter if we use all the money towards the Justice Center and we pay out of fund balance for any kind of audits? I mean, does it matter?
I
mean,
think
is-
it matters regarding reporting still. So if we continue using that money past, say, the building, where we're wrapping up, and say now we're spending it a year into the future, or 6 months later for the audit, you're still having to do that quarterly reporting, I believe.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
why,
so if
why
we
not just get
don't-
rid of that and put all the money into the building, so when the building is done, we are done
Yeah.
with
We could-
reporting and auditing and all that
We
kind of
won't be done
stuff?
with auditing
Well-
because that happens afterwards.
Yes.
But
we
it
could-
happens after we're done with the last dollar spent, correct?
Yeah, so if we waited, if we paid for the FY '25 single audit with ARPA, we'd have to wait until like December 2025 to finish paying, so we would have to continue doing the ARPA reporting. So it actually, from a compliance standpoint, would be easier if we did not pay for the FY '25 single audit out of ARPA. So in that case, we'd only do one more single audit payment
Yeah.
from the ARPA dollars.
So just put it all into the building, in essence, to avoid future quarterly reporting after the fact.
After the building is done. That's true. Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Public comment. Okay, hearing none. 10:17, meeting adjourned.